welcome you all again. Mrs. Nisha Advani will be hosting the panel discussion. We are starting with the panel discussion now. She completed her engineering in information technology in 2014 from Vishwakarma Institute of Information Technology, University of Pune. Currently, she is working as a software engineer at Sybase Software Private Limited. She is a gold medalist for general proficiency from St. Mary's School in 2004. She is also a merit holder in intermediate grade communication skill conducted by Trinity College London. She was selected as a Wipro Campus Entrepreneur nationwide competition for young leaders conducted by Wipro Technologies in 2013 when she was in third year. Having keen interest in adventure sports, she accomplished the highest tandem sky jump in California, 15,000 feet in 2012. Nisha is a part of our EDC family. She was a vice president of EDC in 2012-13 and convener of Vishwapreneur 2014 last year. With the zeal of converting talent into entrepreneurship, Nisha has established herself as a freelance writer, under which she has been undertaking ventures, corporates, content writing, and being contributed for online magazines. She is also a professional orator, comparer, and panel coordinator, and has undertaken the same at several occasions. Now I request Ms. Nisha, please start.
Thank you, Suraj, for the very generous introduction. Good morning, everyone, and once again, on behalf of EDC VIIT, I warmly welcome you all to Vishwapreneur, to the very, very first session of first weekend of 2015, and the first session of this convention. I hope you all had a great start to 2015, but if you haven't, then I'm sure Vishwapreneur is going to give you that rocking start. Now, as participants of Vishwapreneur, majority of you would be students and aspiring to be entrepreneurs. Some of you may also already have business ideas, but you probably have a zillion questions in your head, like what do I do? Where do I start? How do I convert my idea into a venture? When is exactly the right time to start? And that's where we come in. We're here to answer all your questions. And by the end, if you still have some questions left, we're going to open up the panel discussion to the audience. You can personally ask your questions to any of our panel members. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first panelist, who has been associated with Vishwapreneur since its inception in 2013. He was one of our very first guest speakers and has been a tremendous support to us as a patron since the last 2 years. Having completed BE Mechanical and MBA Marketing, he has over 25 years of experience in the auto and auto component industry, home furnishing industry, and in the service sector. Among the many awards that he has won is the National Award for Entrepreneurship by Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, National Award for Best MSME by Mr. Jaswant Singh, National Award for Contribution in Socio-Economic Development of the country, awarded by then Minister of Food, Mr. Sharad Yadav, and many others. He has also recently written a book titled Manager's Diary, Handbook for First Generation Entrepreneurs. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from Aurangabad, Managing Director, Rucha Group of Industries, Mr. Umesh Dashrati. Welcome back to Vishwapreneur, sir. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Our second panelist is a master in software sciences from the United States and was a consultant to a French pharma company, Sanofi Aventis. After 12 years of business experience in the IT sector, she joined her family business of real estate and succeeded in bringing IT as a key medium for growth at the Ishwar Parmar Group. She has been instrumental in the business development at Ishwar Parmar Group and has set her sights on a multitude of projects to fuel the company's growth. After a truly inspiring and highly successful session as a guest speaker at last year's Vishwapreneur, she joined us this year as a patron once again. Please welcome Deputy Managing Director, Ishwar Parmar Group, Ms. Darshana Parmar-Jain. Welcome once again, ma'am. Our next panelist is born to a business family, having a 135-year-old establishment as the unparalleled supremo of the jewelry business in Pune. Ranka Jewellers started with a 50 square feet shop, which as a result of 100% customer satisfaction, grew into Pune's first fully air-conditioned, sprawling 4,000 square feet jewelry showroom. They are the pioneers of KDM jewelry in India and the first in Maharashtra to be awarded with an ISO 9001 certification. Mr. Vastupal Ranka, a graduate jeweler from Gemological Institute of America and an executive MBA from Symbiosis, was the youngest government-approved valuer at the age of 20. He was awarded Icon of Pune by Lokmat Group of Publications at the hands of Shri Pranab Mukherjee. Ladies and gentlemen, from the infamous Ranka Jewellers, please welcome Mr. Vastupal Ranka. Welcome, sir. Our next panelist is Chief Scientist and Head R&D at Persistent Labs, Associate Vice President Persistent Systems Pune, and a Professor of Genetics, Immunology, Biochemistry, and Nutrition at Maharashtra University of Health Sciences, Nasik. With a total research experience of 15 years, he is a postdoctoral research fellow at National Cancer Institute, National Institute of Health, USA, and a PhD, National AIDS Research Institute, Pune, and University of Tokushima, Japan. He has successfully established industry-academia collaborations with more than 10 national and international institutions and has also created an ecosystem for promoting innovations. A knowledge partner in the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, he is socially active and also has a web portal that helps Indian students in biosciences. Please welcome Dr. Abhay Jere. Welcome to the panel, sir. Our final panelist is an accomplished, multifaceted professional, consistently recognized for achievements in diverse fields of real estate and construction industry, education sector, with services in IT and financial management, an MBA in hospital management, as well as in human resource management and marketing and PhD. He's also an MTech in industrial engineering and management, and he's currently into construction and real estate. He's the founder of Raja Convention Center at Secunderabad, founder and partner in a residential mortgage company in the USA, and one of the promoting partners of Invest Right India. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from Hyderabad, Dr. Anil Kumar Kaza, once again on the stage. Now, I did say he is our final panelist, but we have one surprise addition for all of you to the panel to add to our knowledge treasury here, and that is our chief guest from the opening ceremony this morning, Mr. Vishal Gokhale. Please join us on stage, sir. Good morning to all our panelists once again, and I warmly welcome you all to Vishwapreneur. Over the next 60 minutes, we're going to see some great questions. We're going to share some wonderful experience with not just one, but 6 entrepreneurs on stage. So, audience, get ready for a roller coaster ride. Well, I'd like to start with a rapid fire round. Now, normally these are usually done at the end, but I thought that since this is the first session and since the weather's been rather chilly, why not warm up with a rapid fire? So we're going to start with a rapid fire round. And the motive of this is to kind of get everyone kick-started from the ashes of this rapid fire. Let's hope we'll get a phoenix that's going to rise up and give a whole new connotation to the word entrepreneur. And henceforth, whenever anyone thinks of entrepreneur, the first thing that will come to mind is Vishwapreneur. So, panelists, the first question of the rapid fire, should we start from anti-clockwise, clockwise, your pick? Who'd like to go first? All right, we will start from the extreme left. Can I have left as in facing the audience left? So what, according to you, is the one must-have quality of an entrepreneur? One must-have quality. I know there's a whole treasury of them.
The risk-taking ability.
All right, so first question, risk-taking ability. Those of you who are taking down notes, I think these are going to be your pearls of wisdom, so please write these down. Risk-taking ability. Next question to Dashati sir. The one thing that an entrepreneur always does. The one thing that an entrepreneur always does.
One thing that entrepreneur
Always does.
Risk-taking.
All right, risk-taking again. We seem to have a lot of risk-takers on the dais. Next question to Dr. Abhay Jere. The one thing that an entrepreneur never does. Now this cannot be risk-taking.
Complacent.
Complacency, nice one, very, very good. To Mr. Ranka, the biggest motivation for an entrepreneur.
Motivating his people, getting the right talent,
All right.
working for him to fulfill his mission.
All right, so getting other people to fulfill your mission, getting them motivated, that, according to you, is the biggest motivation for an entrepreneur. For Darshana ma'am, the one thing that differentiates an entrepreneur from the rest.
Being an energizer bunny. I think you can never give up. You can fail, but you have to pick up the pieces and move on. And that is one thing I think that differentiates, and you can tell, okay, this is entrepreneur material. You may not be born with it sometimes, and you groom yourself, but that's what identifies one.
Very, very nice. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. So, a very, very nice pearl of wisdom this morning. And for Mr. Gokhale, what is if you look at the day of an entrepreneur, what is the majority of the time that he spends on what activity do you think an entrepreneur spends the majority time of his day on?
I think an entrepreneur don't have to see what time. He has to work at any time. Means
So
from
he
morning
works round
to
the clock.
night. Yeah, definitely.
And what activity do you think he does? Does he indulge a lot in research? Does he read a lot? What does he do? Introspection?
He has to divide all his work. Means for research and for new business growth. He has to divide all his work in whole period.
Right, so time management, of course.
Time management, surely.
Plays a key role. So gathering all these pearls of wisdom, let's put it into a nice necklace which will define entrepreneur. So we have risk-taking ability, we have never say die attitude, we have the biggest motivation is getting your people motivated, getting talent into your organization, energizing others, being a powerhouse of energy yourself, and time management. So that's an entrepreneur in a nutshell for you. So one thing that I guess all our panelists on stage, being where they are today, if there's one thing that all of you would have gone through in your life, would have been a challenge at some point. No entrepreneur's journey is ever devoid of challenges. In fact, challenge is the opportunity for greatness. And I got a really nice quote, which in the words of William Frederick Halsey, he says that there are no great people in this world, only great challenges which ordinary people rise to meet. So talking about challenges, as a personal example for us young budding entrepreneurs, I'd request each one of you to illustrate one challenge that you faced in your life, how you overcame it, how did it change you? We need not follow the same order. We can shuffle. Maybe ladies first, if you'd like to go first.
So I'm a second generation entrepreneur, and that's, for a lot of people, it's to say that it's easy, you have everything handed down and you just have to take it forward. But I think that's the biggest challenge because, my father is a very accomplished man, and then you're not just, I think, filling his shoes or taking over what he's done or assisting him in what he's done, but how do you make it better, bigger, and long lasting. Whenever you look at a business, it's not just the turnover for this year or next year, but how do you make this business last through generations? So when you're setting up the foundation, like for me, the biggest challenge was how do you get the foundation right on which you can build? So is it going to be technology? Is it going to be people? So the challenge was identifying that and having my dad question everything I did. That was the biggest challenge.
I think that somewhere kind of serves as a yardstick as well when you're constantly questioned by someone. So that is very nice. So I'd like to go next. So
Jewelry business is a business which was looked over only by family members. Like 2 decades ago, we had just few jewelers in Pune, and now we have like clutter of jewelers everywhere. You walk down your house, you'll find a jeweler. So the biggest challenge for us was to how to get your customers, how to get your customers loyal to you. We did expand to all the parts of the city, and the problem what we faced was to create a replica of what your fathers were doing, what we were doing when we were a small store. People treat jewelers as family jewelers, as they have family doctors, because we just don't sell jewelry, we sell emotions. We are the custodian of their wealth, so trust is a very important factor.
So establishing trust amongst your patrons, that would be a challenge for you, which you overcame. Brilliant. That's really nice. Dr. Kaza is going next.
Yeah, unlike two other panelists who have spoken, they are both looks like they are both from second generation entrepreneurs. I am a first generation entrepreneur, and the question is a very difficult question because challenge is there every day, every minute we have some challenge or the other to handle as an entrepreneur. But since I have been restricted to tell about one of the challenges, the basic challenge that I had when I started my career was I come from an employee family, and I always had the passion to get into business or become an entrepreneur. So the major challenge was money. There was no money, but I have decided that I'll make money. And my passion has always been real estate and construction area. From my childhood, I don't know for what reason, probably I'm from an agricultural background, so that passion for land may come as a natural love. And then that I made it as my first business, as a passion, and I didn't have money. And that was my challenge. And I started my business of construction by pulling down one palace that was built by Nizam, and my investment was minus 2 lakhs. This is the challenge I faced, and I came out, by God's grace, I was successful in achieving the target.
Well, this panel discussion is going to be followed by a session by Dr. Kaza, so I think you could illustrate more of your challenges in the question, and anyone who wants to ask him questions, you can also do it in the next session.
Sure, thank you.
Great. Mr. Kaza, just like you, I am also a first generation entrepreneur and belong to employee family. I was the only child to my parents, and in 1984 I graduated, and in 1984 my father was retired from government service. He was into teaching profession. So naturally I had to start service. For 5 years I was in service, and then there was a dire desire of being an entrepreneur or to do something. What is that something was not known. But one thing was sure, that unless and until I leave the job, I'll not be able to do that something. And that is also because of whatever I do, I was doing passionately. So whenever I was in job, I was doing that job also passionately. So there was no time for doing something else in the remaining time, because for the full time I was almost engaged in job, either physically or mentally. So the thing was, I had to leave the job. I was the only earning member of the family. The whole family was totally dependent only on me. We belong to a middle class family. And leaving the job, nobody was ready in the family, nor my father, nor my mother. Of course, brothers and sisters I don't have. I am the only child to my parents. So naturally, I was newly married then. So my in-laws also were not in favor of leaving the job. So probably that was the biggest challenge that I faced in life today, till date.
Sir, I think many of the students who are here today can relate to this, and overcoming that inertia and getting out of your comfort zone, I think that is truly one of the biggest challenges for a first generation entrepreneur.
So basically, I'm not an entrepreneur. I call myself an intrapreneur because I work for persistent systems, but trying to do something new in persistent systems also. So, like him, I come from a service family, and neither when I actually started thinking about entrepreneurship, my family was not comfortable. Even to some extent, I was also not comfortable. I will be very honest. And that's the reason I actually didn't leave my job and tried doing something. So many of you could relate with what. But within organization, when you are trying to get into, you want to pursue your passion, that's where entrepreneurship also, or intrapreneurship comes into picture. And now this term is very well recognized, appreciated, that you be a part of a big organization, but to actually do something within that organization, change that organization to an extent, or actually start something associated with that organization. But you have the backing, so you have the salary coming home, but you have the freedom of doing whatever you want to do. So that kind of middle path I am trying to evolve for myself. It's a bit difficult sometimes, managing both the aspects, but yes. The real challenge for me when I am actually in company or with, I will be very honest, is many times I ask myself the question, and my entire effort is to answer that question. And that question is, when I will be around 60, 65, and when I will look back at my life, what am I going to give myself an answer? What I actually did, or whether I lived just for myself, or went beyond me. And that's where, I'm not from a business family, I don't have a big business but that question or answer to that question actually motivates me. Or that's my biggest challenge, actually, where I want to give myself a good answer, an honestly a good answer. And that is what makes me drive to do few things. I have worked in Japan a lot before US, and the culture there has influenced me substantially. If I will not take much time, but I can share one or two incidences later which has actually changed the way I think and approach towards life.
Sure, sir. So as we saw that, as Dashrathi sir said in his opening ceremony speech as well, entrepreneurship comes in many different forms. It's not necessarily that you have to be a business magnate for that. You can be like Dr. Jere, and still, I would say, so you call yourself an entrepreneur, but here we still, as sir said this morning, it is a form of entrepreneurship as well. So.
As I am also the first generation entrepreneur, my biggest challenge was when I started my first project in Aund, the trust of the customer, because the first issue was how to get money, because money does matter, because I also don't have to start my own business at that time in 2004. The first worry was how to collect the money. Money was the big issue, and other was to gain the trust of customer, because you don't, at that time, I doesn't have any brand, so that customer will come to me and take the flat. That's why. So that was my biggest difficulty at that
Right.
time.
So funding is something I think
Yeah,
that's,
funding and
that is common.
the trust also.
The trust, right? As Mr. Ranka said as well, business runs on trust, and unless you don't earn the trust of your end customers, you can't really thrive or even survive. Forget thrive, right? So moving on, since we have only 60 minutes, so let's try to get the maximum out of our panelists. Sir, with you as well. Since I think you're a little short on time, so we'll start with you. We'll go into a little specific questions now related more to each of your industries. And this can be kind of generalized and applied to other industries as well. I was talking to Karkari ma'am this morning, and she said that you are not an engineer per se. You're not from a technical background, and yet you are in the construction line. You are into building, real estate, and construction. So how did you get into this? How did you bridge this gap? How did you get yourself into something technical by being a non-technical person?
Okay. Basically, from from childhood, when I was in a school, I was dreaming about to become a builder. So it was my passion to become a builder. And from the beginning only, when I started my business, I started by supplying the bricks, because at that time I don't have insufficient funds. Means my father was doing a milk business. So just a minute. What was the question? I think.
How did you bridge this gap from, how
right,
did you gain the technical expertise to?
Right. So when my first project was at Ishan in 2004, I stood there for a whole day. My office was also there, my tiffin was also there, and everything was there. So from start to end, I worked there as an employee only, in my company only. So by getting this knowledge, till then, I have 40 to 50 engineers in my company. They are B Civil, till then.
Right. From your last line, what I gathered is an intelligent entrepreneur is not someone who may be technically capable himself, but he hires people who are technically very capable, who do the job
Yeah,
for
but
him,
I have practical
right?
knowledge also.
Yes.
That's why. It's
Definitely,
not technical.
definitely, absolutely. Of course, you have to have the practical knowledge, otherwise you wouldn't be where you are today, sir. And so if we could, again, if we could just keep the ball moving. Darshana ma'am, normally when we think of builders, the first thing that comes to mind is a lot of under the table dealings, a lot of shady things going on. So we don't really see women in this sector, in the construction sector, and you are one of the few women who have made a mark in this sector. So how did you make your mark in this male-dominated sector?
That is a very difficult question. Last time when I came to Vishwapreneur, there were very few women sitting here. Today I see it is dominated by women. So in my opinion, that is it's a very, very good thing to see. Yes, it is a male-dominated business, and I would say India as a whole, even in the software industry, I've worked, and there is a difference when we work abroad. I've worked in UK and US, and I have worked in India, in the US industry, and women have it difficult. It's not easy. I mean, you may be the best person around, but you may get passed up for promotions. Similarly, in the industry, like when you're in business, it is hard to take a woman's authority is what I have figured out. I've had to fight my way through it, but I've had very, very good support from my father and my husband. So there are a lot of, like you said, underhand dealings, although we don't do any of that because it's on record. We don't do that. And there are people who actually tell you, ki ladies kadna nahi ghet, tumcha kadna nahi ghenar. So we just go around, beat the system, and send the guy to do it. It is hard. So I think sometimes it helps to not be a feminist and fight it and say, ghenara che ta माझ्याकडनं का नाही घेत. You've got to get the job done. So, you go around the system and do what you have to do. Secondly, as far as getting the work done, like we also believe in this. I'm not a technical person. I've come from the IT background. That's my So I don't have construction knowledge, and it is, like he said, we've stood on the sites and gotten whatever it is. Whenever I've had problem with any of my managers or people taking authority when it came to initially, not now, but initially when I joined the business, it was hard because they were like, who's this boss ki ladki aayi hai, and it is hard. So at that time, then I used to go to my father or my husband and kind of gently work my way around and get what I needed done. So the instruction or the authority came from a male, but the task was what I needed to get done. So I worked my way through the system. I beat it in sometimes straight manners and sometimes manipulative ways. It works.
Whatever works to be there. Ma'am, there's one more question for you before we go to Mr. Ranka. Nowadays we see, buildings, this is more industry specific. We see buildings mushrooming all over, even in the fringe areas of the city. Development is so rapid. And there are a lot of new players who are entering the market. There are a lot of new partnerships that are being formed in this sector. And there is tremendous competition. There is cutthroat competition. So what is the key differentiator that makes Ishwar Parmar Group survive, or let's say thrive, in this competitive environment?
See, I think the construction industry is not perceived to be customer-centric. We have never worked for the customer. It's always developer, building banda, specification diya, society banaya, exit kiya, bhage, uske piche kya hoga. That is the general perception of a developer. So what we at Ishwar Parmar try and do is, how do you change that perception? We want to be customer-centric. We want them to know that, we are not fly by the night. We are not just going to give you the apartment and run away. So, we do a lot of things that will... See, a home is the biggest thing, I think, that an Indian consumer buys. That is, it's a very emotional decision, a home purchase. So we try to give them that satisfaction that, there's a 5-year leak-proof warranty. There's a product guarantee of whatever specs we use. We make sure it's a 10-year warranty, replacement warranty, not repair. So the kind of product and the kind of service that we provide post-delivery. One is delivery, that yes, you've delivered a product, it's great when I've delivered it. त्याच्या मागे काही झालं तर मी नाही बघणार. But post-delivery is what we focus on, and I think that's been our biggest differentiator from the market, because it is cutthroat. There is plenty, and people have choices. So for them to come to us, and we are charging, like in the localities that we are working, we are charging a premium over our neighbors. And to be able to get that premium, I think it's the customer faith that we have been able to develop by being customer-centric.
Right. Now, the same question I'd like to roll over to Mr. Ranka from a completely different sector, again where there is cutthroat competition, as you mentioned in your challenge part as well. But in your sector, the demand varies with micro as well as with macro parameters, right? From a Diwali bonus to the change in the government, right? So the demand varies in the jewelry industry, in the gold industry. So in this erratic kind of an environment, what is your business mantra?
Change. We all are in the era of change, and if you really want to be a part of it, you'll have to create a change. Business, if you see, it's been like not as it was earlier. Things are changing very much. You are just getting lost in clutter, and as he said, okay, what is one challenge? I would say an entrepreneur of today has 1,000 challenge, not one challenge. If you take from an advertising point of view, it's a very expensive, very, very expensive phenomenon. You advertise, but you don't know, okay, how much of you are getting it back. The biggest challenge, what we have is like, I would tell you, if you really want to grow in this industry and grow at a very good rapid, you should consider people as your asset of the company. Because they are not just humans working with hands, they are brains too. You really have to give them a sense of mission and opportunity, and they have to like the job, what they are doing, and they should know where the company is going. They'll give all their lives for you. On the other hand, if they don't understand, on the other hand, if they don't get the power, the recognition, the opportunity to participate in your decision, or they do the same repetitive and boring job, you'll have to pay them more. Even if you're paying them more, after some time, they'll come again, complain to you, and ask for more. You need to create a team. You need to create a sense of ownership among your employees. That, yeah, even I am Ranka. You come and, whatever you want, we'll solve your issues to you. You can't approach everywhere. See, ours is a customer service industry. Now, I would say jewelry is more or less now in this competition, it's the better customer service you give, the more loyal the clients are yours. We have to sell service, and sales are an add-on to your product. The bigger challenge what we had, like as our generation took over, we actually started in 1968 with 50 square feet of store. Now we have 1,50,000 of retail space in Pune and Mumbai. And we are going to add 2 more stores in this 2015. We had a big challenge to restructure our organization. We had to set departments for HR, recruitment, purchase, sales, which was not so familiar with this industry because everything is so expensive over here. You can't afford to lose a single item because it costs a lot. So the challenge what we had with our elder generation was, this was the generation gap. Because a really hell lot of time to make them understand, okay, listen, even this work can be delegated to others. And we kept on developing systems. Throughout the years, we did get a lot of setbacks, a lot of loopholes were there, like money was drained out of the business, but still it worked. And now I think so at this stage we are a big structured organization. There's a lot of competition from the national chains, like they've been flooding in the cities. We have Kalyan, Malabar, Tanishq. They're a big threat for the traditional jewelers, and it's a very ongoing process, like how to really fight them out. I would like to narrate a small story to you, though it's not relevant to my field, but a story that would like a timely reaction, which I've read it somewhere and I would like to narrate. There were 2 friends who were on a walking safari in Africa. They saw a lion approaching them, and one of them started wearing his running shoes. The other friend asked, "Why are you wearing the shoes? You can't outrun the lion." The friend said, "No, I'm not outrunning the lion, I want to outrun you." So the moral of the story is, how quick you are on your feet, how fast you can get the change in you. And the change is an ever-going process. You can never be idle, you can never be complacent. You have to get yourself updated with all the current designs, trends.
Right. So, sir, also about you, just like Sachin Tendulkar was given his first cricket bat at the age of 11, I've heard that you started at a very, very tender age and you came into the family business at a very young age. So, keeping this in mind, and of course, as I mentioned in your introduction, at 20, you were the youngest government-approved valuer. So, according to you, what is the importance of starting young and setting your goals very early on in life, or having your goals set for you very early on in life? Because many of us still don't have our goals actually set. So, for you, it was a different story. You probably had your goals set from a very young age. So, how did this really give you a kickstart, and how did it help you?
See, we being into a family business, we used to help our parents, help our dad and uncles as a child. As a child, even going to school, we used to be at workplace, helping them to count the money that time. So, we took over the business as we started doing our college. like college was part-time for us and business was full-time for us. And later on, see, it's not easy for anyone who has a family business. I would really advise you to please try to develop your family business, because it's very tough. It's a very tough task to get into your new business, establish your business, and by the time you do it, it will be like half of your life will be gone. So we thought that family business, just getting the family business to a different level would be like the best for us. That's it.
And so very quickly on your take on, or rather you were one of the first regional corporates in Pune to sign a national celebrity. We all know Vidya Balan endorses Ranka Jewellers. So from a business perspective, what was the Vidya Balan effect on your brand?
See, it was a win-win situation for both of us. Yeah, because when we signed, I'll start with the story. We went to sign Madhuri Dixit, but due to her commitments and her traveling to US, she was not ready to come with us. So the only alternative what we had was Vidya Balan. Because all the other brands, all the other celebrities were taken over by Gitanjali, since they had Damas, Jilly, and a lot of brands under them, and even Tanishq took over some. So Vidya was the only option what we had. We came down to Pune. We had a discussion with the elder generation. We've signed Vidya. All of them were like, "Oh, go and pay Madhuri more if you want. We don't want Vidya as the face." But we didn't have a chance. The deal was already done. Luckily, as we signed her, she did 2-3 famous movies, which was The Dirty Picture, The Kahani, and it became a hit for her as well as for us. We got a national recognition. And of course, a brand upliftment. And I think so that was the very lucky and a smart move from our side, since we've been like known in India because of her, and she's been known to some extent because of us.
Right, so just as we were driving to the venue this morning, we saw a huge hoarding of Ranka Jewellers with Vidya Balan, so I thought I'll ask you this question.
Yeah, it's a get noticed.
Yeah. Keeping this same theme on, Dr. Jerry, I'll come back to you, but I'd like to pass this question to Mr. Dashrathi. In your case now, you don't deal directly with end consumers. You're from the B2B sector. So in a B2B scenario, how do you endorse yourself? Talking on brand building.
Well, as we are into B2B sector, we are not worried whether Vidya Balan is there or Madhuri Dixit is not there. But endorsement typically into our kind of business, wherein we are into auto ancillary, typically into this kind of business, if you want to keep yourself in market, you have to be innovative always. Because we are doing, print to build kind of things. Whatever customer gives, we have to manufacture that in a best way. But there are a lot of other people who are in market and who also can do equally well. But then you have to give something different. That X factor you have to identify every time. This can be, sometimes it can be cost, but most of the times it should be quality. More than that, probably a robust process. And more than that, you have to identify what is customer satisfaction. Because in our kind of business, customer satisfaction mostly lies into online deliveries or in-time deliveries. So you have to find out the innovative ways to keep customers satisfied. And these ways, as I said, these ways are different from product to product, customer to customer. You have to identify what is a real requirement of customer. Real requirement of customer may differ many a times, because just to be in these four walls, it is not necessary that every customer needs a very high quality. There are certain customers which need really a high quality, wherein you have to give focus on to very high quality. But there are certain customers who need moderate quality. And At that point of time, if you start giving very high quality, they may not appreciate that. They need moderate quality, but they need everything in time. Time is probably more precious for them than quality sometimes. So you have to identify the real need of a customer, and this real need is always understated. Nobody states this need upfront, because nobody is going to say that I don't want good quality. Everybody will say that I want the best quality. But then at the same time, these understated needs you have to identify and you have to satisfy them. Apart from that, whenever some customer comes into your factory for any kind of visit, the factory has to be in such a way that customer, while going outside the factory, he should feel proud that you are associated with him. He should feel like giving you additional business because you are associated with him. And to make this particular thing, it's not only the show business that really matters, but the real customer understands the processes. The real customers understand your innovative approach. And this innovation has to be seen on every step in your factory. And that is how probably you can be really in a market for a long time.
Right, so insights from a veteran from the manufacturing sector for all the mechanical engineers in the audience. Again, keeping with brand building, since there's so much talk of brand building going on, I'm sure Dr. Kaza has a different take on brand building. Sir, after reading your profile, I kind of got this intuition that you will have a different take on this. So what's your take on brand building?
Though I am a MBA from marketing, somehow I always believed that brand building should come out of warm word of mouth rather than advertising, because I tried advertising a couple of times. Probably I didn't do it at a very big scale. Maybe I'm wrong, but I always believed that the word of mouth from your customer is what is most important to me. And that way, I think I have been reasonably successful, because in whatever business that I have been into, my customers, generally when I commit something, they are sure that, okay, this guy is going to deliver what he has promised. As Mr. Dashrath is saying, what we promise is not the best. It's the optimum. For the kind of price we pay, that's the quality that we deliver to. So there will be some customers who would want not the best quality, sometimes they may also want a bad quality, unquote me. But we need to satisfy our customer. And if we can satisfy the customer, I think we can build the brand equity. In the niche markets that I operate in, I have been very successful, and I normally don't go in for a huge branding thing. Well, I'm not very big also. That's another reason probably. I'm a little shy on branding and publicity kind of stuff. But definitely, I am very particular to have my brand equity with my customer, and I go out of my way in many ways to see that my customer is satisfied. Sometimes it may go to the extent of arranging marriages also. So that is a level of emotional bonding I try to create with my customer base, who are my backbone for my success. That's what I think is brand building about, and brand equity for my own customer is about.
Right. So apart from advertising, we can kind of conclude from what you said is that brands are probably somewhere directly proportional to customer satisfaction, and the size of your brand, or you can say the perception of your brand, it all depends on ultimately at the end of the day what your customer says about you.
I always do a focused marketing, focus group marketing. So that's why I don't go too much into. I started my career as a director of Apple advertising. I was heading an advertising company which was doing very well. Then I moved into construction industry.
Right. So since we've now spoken about brands, and we've also had a little bit of insight into manufacturing, a little insight into real estate and construction, we haven't really touched upon the hot topic that's on nowadays, and that is online startups. So I'd like to pose this question to Dr. Abhay Jere. In the 90s, we saw an internet era where the entrepreneurs back then, there was like a gold rush of the World Wide Web. And now we see a similar situation like the dot-com bubble back then. We see a similar situation now in terms of the online startup space. Most of the startups that we see now are majorly focused around app development or some kind of an e-commerce service or some online service that is being provided. Generally, this is the notion nowadays for most of the startups. So since you are into incubating innovations, as I went through your profile, do you think it is a good idea for an aspiring entrepreneur, for an aspiring startup to jump this new bandwagon of bounty hunters, or do you think that this online startup bubble is going to burst?
It's not an easy question to answer, to be honest, because it depends. But what happens is that, being R&D head, and sometimes I work with nowadays I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. We get many entrepreneurs or youngsters who have some idea in mind, like app development, platform, and they want us to fund them or help them incubate and things like that. But many times, when we actually look at the product, and I do it maybe day in and day out nowadays, is that they address a particular niche, a very, very small niche, or it's just what we can say, nothing disruptive comes. It's just an incremental. So for a incremental idea or innovation, it sometimes becomes very, very difficult to compete and survive in this, in the current scenario. But yes, if you have a disruptive idea, then we are also quite enthused to look into. The good part about this app development and e-commerce startup is after funding Flipkart got, Indian investors have started chasing and started pouring a lot of money, venture capitalists and investors, into some of these e-commerce platforms. Before that, nobody was getting that kind of a funding, which was there. So if you really look at scenario where the availability of funding, availability of investors to actually fund these kind of platforms, it's more as compared to earlier. But because they now know that it can be successful, but then getting a good disruptive idea, which could be a game changer, is sometimes very difficult to find. Because many times I have innovators or people who have ideas coming to me. They are very passionate people. They want to do something. They are very, but when you actually look at their product or ideas, very, very shitty idea, But so that's where we are also trying to explore whether we can create a model where we are trying to involve innovations and idea competitions and actually scout ideas, where we will say, okay, you are a passionate entrepreneur, you would like to, but your idea is very shitty. We might have a bank of ideas, whether you would like to run with any of these ideas. So that kind of a thing we are currently trying to explore, how we can do that. Because Anand Deshpande, who is founder, we routinely talk on some of these aspects, and we believe that yes, the current generation is very, very passionate about becoming entrepreneur because it's now relatively less expensive, being an entrepreneur, especially in e-commerce field. But then, because of that, you have to have a real good idea to succeed, or more than idea, an application or a product which will make you successful.
Right. Sir, yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Keeping, again, with the online stuff, you would also like leave.
In next minutes I have to go.
Okay. A quick question. I just want to finish on this online startup part. Most of the online startups nowadays that we see are not really profitable. I mean, most of them, like as you said, Flipkart received funding, but if we actually look at their balance sheets, they're kind of working on negative margins. Amazon works on a 1% profit margin, as they said. So, where is the future for these kind of companies? How are they going to stick around? How are they going to sustain? I mean, I'm sure there must be somebody in the audience who has some kind of an online startup. Or so how do you make it profitable? Do you see it becoming profitable?
So yes, so some of the ideas are going to certainly get profitable. Many of these ideas are going to die, and undoubtedly that's part and parcel of life. I can curtly say that. But yes, some of the ideas will be, or some of the startups will get purchased. So at the right time, you will have to explore when to exit, when to actually sell off the idea or venture and start into a new venture. You know what happened with WhatsApp, right? $9 million, $1 billion kind of a deal. So WhatsApp was not really making a lot of money before that, but the valuation was very high. So you have to work around that. For example, I will give you, I am incubating one idea where, you have these normal now smartphones. So they are all touch-based. You have to just touch the panel. But how you make them blind-enabled? So one innovator came to me, he had a concept to how to make our normal smartphones, which are touch-based, blind-enabled. There are no keys, right? So we wrote a complete wrapper. We helped him wrote a complete wrapper. And we had launched that app in US about a couple of weeks back. And we have started getting a lot of rave or fantastic reviews because you can do braille typing also on that. So it's a completely a niche kind of a product which can at least go for the blind people which are there, So many such products will survive. Certainly they will survive. It depends upon what kind of product you have. There is no blanket yes or no kind of an answer, to be very honest.
Right. It's very uncertain. It depends on your product and on the situation. Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
You see, the statistic shows that in any kind of innovation, the success rate is not more than 1 to 2%. Now this 1 to 2%, whether this is first 1% or last 1%, that all depends on what the idea is. So the best way is just try to get that 1%. It can be the first or it can be the last.
Yes. So keep the mic with you. The next question is for you. An empire is set up by a rock-solid pyramid of like-minded and motivated individuals. Now, in the initial days of your startup, this is more a little bit towards the HR perspective, looking into HR. So, in the initial days of startup, of your startup, how did you identify, attract, and retain talent?
I think the questions are becoming difficult and difficult as we are proceeding. But anyway, you see, HR definitely, as explained by a lot of dignitaries, HR is one of the most important point for any of the organization, and you have to first groom the people. You have to work with the available people. Means there is no specifically in the initial period you cannot have very great choice as such, but then you have to groom them. Every individual has a desire to grow. Every individual has a desire to perform. You have to just unleash that desire from him. Just to give you some figures, my purchase head has an educational qualification of ITI. He is ITI into Turner trade, so nothing to do with purchase in any form. But he is handling a purchase of not less than 450 crores per annum. So people can really work, people can really perform, provided you have to give them an opportunity, you have to trust them. Of course, while doing this, I'm talking as a first generation entrepreneur, I'm talking as a starting from scratch, starting from zero. you have to work with the available people. Again, there is every probability that they will do wrong things. You have to bear the cost of that, but it has no choice. Training the people continuously, consistently is the only alternative. Talking to them, what is that you want, teaching them how to do a particular thing. These are the only ways to develop your team, and I personally think there is no other go. Unless and until you come to certain level, then you definitely, people get attracted to you, you get higher educated, higher qualified, higher experienced people, and then things become simpler. But in the initial phase, yes, you have to bear with the people whatever you have.
Right. Thank you. Now, there's one question which I'll put to all the panelists. It's a very relevant question, especially for us as youngsters and for most of the students who are in the audience. And this question I'm putting on popular demand because I've got requests from many people to ask this question. So there are two sides to the coin, right? Starting young and raw without any experience, fresh out of college, like maybe a Mark Zuckerberg, or getting experienced, learning the tricks of the trade, and then starting up your own venture. What side would you go with? So let's hear what our panelists have to say on this, and this is for all the youngsters there. Anyone can start.
See, India is a land of jugaad. We Indians can do anything on what the sun shines on. Think big, think ahead, come up with big ideas. Ideas are no one's monopoly. One of the biggest industrialists has said, we do not require an invitation to make profits. So wherever you have an idea, just make a blueprint of it, get the required people working for it, set up your teams, know your competitors, know your market. If it's a segmented market, work accordingly, get the necessary resources and start working on it. You never know. Unless and until you try, you don't know where you lead. And if you do nothing, you won't go anywhere.
So you would say work in your sector, work in your area of expertise.
Whatever ideas you get, you should work. If you have a family background, if you have family business going on, try to do with it. If you can't really cope up with it, you can start your own venture. See, it's a very personal thing. It's how much you have to try to work for others. You can work to a certain limit, but after a certain point, you have to think, now let's work for me.
Right. So I guess for you, it's more of finding that right time by yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Be the architect of your own future.
Yeah. There's no really time.
Yeah, things will come in your way. You just have to inbuilt an idea in you and try working on it and formulate things for you.
Right. Darshana ma'am, what do you think is a good age to start, a good time to
See,
start?
I feel very, very strongly about this question because I'm a director in 2 companies. In one company, I've come with experience and been able to add to it, and the other company I've come with no experience, and the result of it is in front of me. So I feel that I've worked for 12 years in an industry that is not real estate, but those 12 years have molded me and given me the structure that I've needed to understand on how a corporate works, and hence came into a family business and was able to make it a corporate. To be able to understand HR processes, to be able to understand how divisional scorecards and the company scorecard works. What are the finances? What is the financial impact of any decision? Every single decision you make has a financial impact. So going raw, your chances of failure are extremely high. But when you come from a corporate, I think that you've learned from other people's mistakes and it gives you a little bit of a head start. If you look at startups as a whole, and I think Persistent is, there's an incubation center in IIM Ahmedabad which has put out a report. And that says that 53% of entrepreneurs have come out of corporates. And 80% of entrepreneurs or startups are either startups that have failed and second time given it a shot, or corporate experienced people who have come out and made it successful. So there's only a 15% chance that you're going to make it if you go out raw. And out of that 15% also, there's a likelihood of failure only because I feel when you have the chance to learn from somebody else's mistakes, why do you want to fall flat on your face? Mark Zuckerberg is just, see, that's not the norm. That's an exception. So if you're an exception and you believe so strongly, then yes, please go ahead and do it. But I err on the cautious side. So I feel that coming from a corporate, I've been able to add like tons more to my family business than I would have been if I'd come out raw.
Right, so Darshana ma'am is on one side, that get experience, learn from others' mistakes, and then don't make them yourself.
I will slightly differ from what she said. I would say fail early, fail fast. So, yeah, experience is required to understand the corporate kind of functioning or basic processes. But I would say maybe a year or a couple of years experience with a very focused approach that after these 2 years you want to do something of yourself and you approach job with that kind of ability, which I never did, okay? I will be very honest. And that's the reason I think I'm not an entrepreneur now. But I think that's the best way, not more than that, because once you start getting into a salary kind of a mode, knowingly, unknowingly, you get more of a comfort. Your risk-taking ability goes down as your age also goes up. So, couple of years experience in a good organization, if you get an opportunity, is the ideal way to get into a startup. This is my personal belief. But even if some people are keen directly after getting into raw into an entrepreneurship, it may not be always a failure if you have a right kind of, if you have put enough mind and brain into the planning part of it, right? So that becomes a very, very crucial part. Having good mentors. Experience can come from mentors, if you have a good company, having right kind of people associated as board for that company, even for that startup. So that kind of framework, if you can build, even at a very early age, you should able to be successful. For example, take the example, I'm not going to Mark Zuckerberg, but Anand Deshpande, who is the founder of Persistent. He just had an experience after PhD, 1.5 years, or 18 months of experience of working at HP in US. He just came back in 1990 where hardly anyone was talking about IT. You know, he has to go to Mumbai to put an email to US, you know. He has to travel just for sending one email. He has to go to Mumbai. So that was the case, but he came, he actually looked at, and he is now maybe one of the 50 richest in India, officially, at least. Yeah. So, learning from him, I felt that, yes, fail early, fail fast could be a good strategy. We apply that in our day-to-day when we evaluate a lot of businesses or the ideas which we get.
A different take. Pearls of wisdom, note them down.
I think almost everything is over, whatever is to be said on this particular point. There is a famous quote from Warren Buffett. I started at 14. He started his business when he was 14. So I started at 14, and now I feel that I was too late to start. So Warren Buffett started when he was 14 years old. Bill Gates started when he was 18 years old. On the other hand, Narayan Murthy started when he was in mid-40s. DLF owner Mr. Singh started when he was middle-aged. Mr. Anand Deshpande started early. Mr. Raka started early. So I think there is no real age for entering into entrepreneurship. What all you have to do is you have to start. And probably personally, if you ask me, I'm completely with him, and I'm completely in opposition to Madam Parmar, that whatever you want to start, please start early. Now, what that early means, again, it depends on individual to individual, but if you start early, your responsibilities are less, so the damages due to failure are less. If you start a little late in life, then probably the responsibilities, personal responsibilities increase, which may pull you down taking risks. When you start earlier, you have more capability of taking risk. So I feel earlier is better.
I think I have a little different take altogether. In my opinion, it all depends on, basically it depends on your kujli, your itch. How much you want to be an entrepreneur. That's a very important thing. That's a very, very important thing. Your own passion to become an entrepreneur. Then, if you are poor or if you are rich, start early. If you have a lot of kujli, and if you are poor, if you are rich, start early. This is my take. Because a poor guy has nothing to lose. A rich guy is not losing his or her own money. Now comes the poor me, the middle class, which is the major middle class of our, which is the major sector of our country. This is the class which has to be a little careful. So what I would suggest is, now, the beautiful thing of the present age now is, this is the era of opportunities, which was not there when we started our lives. Only rich people had the opportunity to do whatever they could do. It was very difficult to break into the market. You needed a lot of money, or you needed a lot of other skills to get into the business. But now you have an intellectual market and intellectual property which is being highly respected, regarded, exploited also. So, if there is any kind of a business opportunity for a startup wherein you can sell your mind or your technical knowledge and you want to start, probably you can start early. Then I would agree with Dashath sir that you are young and you have time to go forward also, and you don't lose the heart. But if you are a middle class and you start early, and let me tell you, it is not easy to succeed in life. It is very, very difficult to succeed. You need to have all the things put together. See, there's a saying called, an ounce of luck is more than a pound of wisdom. See, that is a very important factor in life. So for the middle class sector, what I would say is, if you can't put all your eggs into one basket and take the risk at an early age, because God forbid you fail, you lose your heart. The failure may be because of your own foolhardy decisions, or it could also be because of the extraneous factors. If it is because of your own foolhardy decisions that you have failed, it's good. You have to go through the process. You pay for it because you are the owner of that decision. But if you had failed because of the extraneous circumstances for whatever reason, it's a very difficult thing. You lose heart. Losing heart is a very important thing. So anybody who is wanting to get into this entrepreneurial area should understand that you should take the failure in the same state as you take success. So somewhere you need to have that kind of emotional maturity to take the failure also in the same level as much as you can take it, the success. So for people, who don't have too much of a backing, I would suggest, probably I would agree with Parmar ma'am, that you need to work for somebody for some time and learn from the mistakes, and which will be paid by your somebody rather than you paying for it. And in other situations, probably you can start young. And somehow, I always admire, like every one of us, we all admire greatest people. But we all admire greatest people because they are one or two. So they can't be our examples to set our own standards. It all depends on our own self-analysis, self-evaluation of where we come from, what is the various path, make a decision tree at every stage. If this, then what? If this, then what? If this, then what? If this, then what? Then you know that in a success path, you are moving towards one direction, and in your failure path, also you are mentally prepared to move in that direction. But while wishing and working for success, you should always be having something behind the back of the mind, just in case something goes wrong. So there should always be backup plans. So there is no single answer to this question of whether we should start young or whether young and raw, or whether we should do it after some experience. So it all depends on individuals. It all definitely depends on individuals. To quote my own example, I was in a government service, a class 1 officer, had everything reasonably well set, and then social status. See, as soon as somebody says you're a professor or a central government employee or something, there's a huge social status attached to that. But then, to be an entrepreneur, you need to lose all those things and take that risk, and especially without any kind of a family background, getting into the business was a difficult decision. 28 years back, while I was in my MBA first year, I was sitting exactly on your end, and we were only 12 students. And we had one panelist, S.P.Y. Reddy, if anybody knows. He was 25-year MP and Congress MP, and he is a founder of Nandi Pipes. He worked in Bombay for a couple of years. And I asked him exactly the same question. Should I start young, or should I start a little later? Then he told me, I think you should get some experience before you start, and then you dabble with various ideas and various industries and see which one is the one that you like. And I had taken that advice of him, and I don't regret for taking that idea, because that was a different age, and that advice was perfectly fine, and I still remember him to the day. But now you are in a different age. So you search, you only analyze all the, and you guys are more intelligent. Let me tell you, all this present generation is much, much more intelligent than the older generations, the way we were more intelligent than our older generation.
Can I have, yeah. Right, so we can say that, there's no proper age and time to actually start your business, but there is a proper moment and an opportunity. It's all about leaving the inertia and living the moment, getting out of your comfort zone and taking that flight. Let's just make sure it's not a SpiceJet flight. So, well, no offense to any loyal patrons of SpiceJet. Dr. Jere has to leave us urgently, so I request Dr. Acharya to please felicitate him. After this, we will take audience round, just 2 questions, because we're running short on time. So.
Sir, please.
Thank you so much, sir, for...
Apologies. I was not aware. Today there is a conference of collectors where all district collectors are going to be there from entire Maharashtra, and we need to talk there about innovations. I'm already late for maybe more than an hour there. So if I lose a slot, then I lose actually opportunity, very good golden opportunity to actually communicate at the highest level where innovation is required. So sincere apologies. I need to go. Sorry for that.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for taking time off your busy schedule, sir. Really appreciate it. So we have time for maybe 2 quick questions from the audience. Very quickly, can we have hands and volunteers running around with mics, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Swapnil, and my branch is mechanical. And my question is for the Umesh sir. Sir, if you, in case, get a huge loss in your business, of course we know there is a loss in business. So do you think of switching the field?
If you make loss, should you switch your field? That's your question, right, Swapnil?
Or you try to work harder on the product which you are manufacturing right now?
So do you
शुभ
pursue
बोलो यार।
failing venture?
Sir,
क्यों मेरा loss
just
करा
a
रहे हो?
backup plan as the sir said.
Okay. But Swapnil, really a good question. You see, basically everyone has his own core competence. And in my opinion, one has to stick to his core competence. Loss and profit, they are the outcomes of your good management or bad management. So if you are into losses, you have to set right your management. Undoubtedly, if at all that situation comes to me, I would like to cover up or come out of those things by working hard on my core competences and remaining into same business. Because new businesses means new challenges, new learnings. Again, in new learnings, you definitely every learning has a cost. So if at all you want to learn a new business, you have to pay that cost. You have to pay that learning cost, and which is nothing but loss. So instead of entering into the unknown area, let me enter in the same area which I know much better.
Right. Thank you, Swapnil. Anyone else? Yes, the last one there.
Hello. Well, my question to Mr. Ranka. We like Bluestone Jewelry, started by Gaurav Singh Kushwaha. I mean, they are dazzling where the big boys have failed to shine. They are introducing search engine optimization marketing using 3D stuff, and they don't produce the actual jewelry piece before the order is placed. They take the metal prototypes and put it on their online store and just start preparing after the order is made. They give online free trials at home and all that stuff. So they are avoiding the high inventory costs and logistical costs. And we even have many companies in Mumbai like Firestone Diamonds and Kama Sector. I mean,
So what's your question, please? We're running
there are
out of time.
times when there are no orders.
Yeah.
So how do you think that the traditional brick and mortar business are going to compete with Bluestone? Like they are profiting much.
So how do traditional brick and mortar business compete with online businesses?
See, you are very much right with your question, because we also see an overflow of the cross-counter marketing moving into the arena of online marketing. There is a threat for the traditional jewelers, but since Bluestone, Carrot Lane, they got the advantage of the first mover advantage. First mover, what we call is the jewelry, what you buy from them, if you compare it with your jewelers down the street, you'll see that they are charging you double the price what our jewelers charge. Secondly, you won't get a good resale value also. Supposedly you are buying stuff for 10,000, and if you actually go and evaluate it, it's not worth more than 5,000, because there's lot of marketing cost involved in jewelry and lot of hidden gimmicks also. It's not like a branded product, because there are hundreds of things in a jewelry, like the weight, the clarity, the quality, the price. Not easy. And the traditional jewelers are now also coming. They like started doing their e-commerce sites, and they would be like, because even we are feeling the threat, okay, 5 years down the line, even our business would be in a big trouble, like how they have captured the consumer good and the electronic markets.
Right. So one last question we can take. Yes.
My name is Shrikant Deshmukh. I am from mechanical branch. Last few hours we are discuss on various business management. One question मेरा एक अलग सवाल है आपसे. आप क्या मिस कर रहे हो? आप आज इस लेवल तक आप पहुंच गए हो, लेकिन आप मिस क्या कर रहे हो अभी? Like your childhood or somehow different. और मेरे ख्याल से ये क्वेश्चन ओनली मैकेनिकल ब्रांच वाले को ही आ सकता है.
The answer is to be answered by whom?
Your question is addressed to which panelist? All the panelists, so anyone can go for it.
अगर कुछ मिस कर रहे हैं तो शायद इस टाइप का फोरम मिस कर रहे हैं जहाँ पे हम वहाँ खड़े होके कभी क्वेश्चन नहीं कर पाए यार.
If you follow your passion, you don't miss anything. You should enjoy what you do. You should be self-motivated right from the beginning. You should have the inner urge and fire in the belly कि मेरे को करना ही है, and enjoy the journey. The journey would be exciting for you.
Okay, keeping in
But
the
if you don't do anything, you'll miss a lot.
keeping with the line of one-liners,
So-
one-liner from you, Dr. Kaza.
If you do what you like to do, you don't have to work in your life. Probably this is a question which my wife should answer because I am following my passion. Probably she is missing many things. My family is missing so many things, but I am following my passion and they are supporting me.
A one-liner closing line from you, Darshana ma'am.
Never stop learning. That's it. Never stop.
Short and sweet. So with that, I'm sorry, I know there are many more questions from the audience. If our panelists have time outside the auditorium, maybe if you could ask them. All right, you want to take? Fine. Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Professor Kalvade from Vishwakarma Foundation. Actually, I'm doing my PhD in FDI and retail, impact of FDI and retail in the sector of Mumbai, Thane and Pune. So I would like to ask a relevant question. Actually, as you were explaining about the competition, you were mentioning about the competition from other brands in the jewelry market, you know. So I just wanted to ask, what is the impact of foreign brands or foreign stores, you know, on the Indian operators? Like suppose a Damian is opening a store in Pune. So what is the threat of this foreign brands for players like you?
See, Indian consumers have a mentality of asking a resale before they buy. Foreign brands are very expensive because they have a big marketing cost. They won't be available when you actually go and sell them in the time of crisis because here gold is bought for security. I wouldn't mention it, like we have a parallel economy also running here where the majority of the money is parked in gold jewelry also. Why did India not face the brunt of the world recession? Because we had gold which saved India. So I think so another 15, 20 years down the line, I don't see any threat from any foreign brands. All we have to fight is like Indian brands and internal brands.
Right. So
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all for joining us. And I'm going to quickly wind up by asking Principal of VIIT, Dr. Mrs. Karkare, to please felicitate our panelists. First, Ms. Darshana Parmar-Jain. Thank you, ma'am, for coming back once again to Vishwapreneur. And we hope to see you next year as well. Mr. Vastupal Ranka. Mr. Umesh Dashrathi. Vishwapreneur. Kaza sir will be with us for the next session. So you will. We want to make sure we can hold on to you. So, right, thank you to all the panelists, and thank you to the participants, and the further announcements will be made by the organizers. Thank you all for being a wonderful audience.
Vishwapreneur.